This program is scheduled for one fall.
Why, thank you.
No, I won't give in till I'm victorious.
Oh, all right then.
And I will defend.
Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this program is scheduled for 1-4. My name is Silent Mark. I will be your MC for this evening, bringing you the next hour of wrestling chat. And tonight's show is brought to you by Steve Austin's BDSM Society, because Stone Cold says so. So we're going to have, ladies and gentlemen, as per usual, my two colleagues arguing about this week's wrestling. So let's start the way we mean to go on. Introducing first. Journalist, Beyond Radio's very own resident, author of The Holy Grail, and person whose life will be made into a summer blockbuster this year, Lambert, My Life as a Wrestling Manager and Other Things I'm Not Great At. It's Greg the Truth Lambert.
Oh, you think you're so funny, don't you? Look at you sat there with your little smug egg-shaped little head. Just because I didn't win
And you didn't turn up.
Golden chance and didn't turn up last week.
It's more
I
the
had
fact you didn't turn
better
up.
things to do.
It's more the fact you're at home sulking, Greg.
No, I was at home applying a face pack.
Is that what you call crying?
No, there was no need to cry. I just thought it would be a nice thing to do to leave me feeling refreshed and revitalised and ready to return to TPISFOF. This programme is scheduled for one fall this week.
Fair enough. Have you had a good week?
I've had my wedding anniversary.
Well,
actually.
congratulations.
20 years of marriage I celebrated yesterday.
Jokes aside, very, very much congratulations to you, sir.
I appreciate it. Where was my present?
I didn't know.
I put it on Facebook.
I don't take notice of your Facebook.
Well, in which case your congratulations are meaningless.
Fair enough. And introducing his opponent, Human, co-creator and co-host of Another Monday Evening Show, Alpha Omega Wrestling interviewer, and the person who is being played by John Goodman in Greg Lambert's film, it's Mr. Evil Lewis.
Yeah, I am.
And Mick Foley's long-lost son.
Damn right.
How's it going, sir?
It's going very well, thank you.
Good. Have you had a good week?
I've had a very good week, yes. As it happens. Yeah, it's been good. It's been good, you know. I've been watching all of the wrestling.
All of it?
Which,
Not been great?
Most of that has kind of not been in the highlights of my week, I'll be honest with you. But, you know, what can I say? You know.
It's kind of stumbled from one embarrassing and inept moment to another this week, the wrestling on television, I have to say.
A little bit.
I'm afraid to say. We'll give you an example. We play the theme music of Bobby Roode every week on this programme is scheduled for one fall. And what I particularly thought was rather embarrassing this week was when Bobby Roode was trying to recruit the Perfect 10, Ty Dillinger, to be his tag team partner in the upcoming Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic.
Trying, he succeeded.
Well, he did, yes. The crowd were clearly feeling it. They clearly liked the idea of these two teaming up. So they started chanting, "Glorious 10! Glorious 10! Glorious 10!" And Bobby Roode kept cutting his promo, building up, saying, "Yes, we're going to form a team, we're going to form a team." And the crowd were chanting, "Glorious 10! Glorious 10! Glorious 10!" And Bobby Roode went, "Yes, we're going to call ourselves Perfectly Glorious." And the crowd went, "Oh." And that was just one example of just this week. It just seems to have been one, I don't know, mistake after another.
Surely that's just a perfect example of Bobby Roode being a fantastic heel and not giving the crowd what they want.
Well, that's very good. You know, actually, that's one of the most intelligent things you've ever said.
I always say intelligent things. What are you talking about? Congratulations to the wedding anniversary, by the way.
Again, unless I get a gift. Because you realise that 20 years is China. So is there any gift you can give me that's related to that?
I have half a bottle of Flat and Warm Iron Brew.
That has nothing to do with China.
It's your half bottle of Flat and Warm Iron Brew anniversary.
Yeah.
You could have at least got me some fried rice or, I don't know.
Bit much there, Greg.
Degeneration X.
Also,
a female bodyguard.
My commiserations to Mrs. Lambert.
Yes. I'd go with that.
Yeah.
She won't be listening. She hates wrestling.
So
And the sound of your voice.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
So let's talk
Anyway.
a little bit about Saturday show, for example, Cash for Gold.
Sunday show.
Sunday show, Cash for
Yes.
Gold, yes.
Yes.
Cash for Gold.
Is that what it was?
You mean Clash of Champions?
That's the
Clash
one.
of Clans, sorry.
The WWE Raw pay-per-view, because they have one every week now, you
The
know.
first Raw exclusive pay-per-view since the Brand split. Brand split?
Since
Wait,
Brad Split and Angelina Jolie.
No, that's his world-famous dessert that he makes. It's got like ice cream and whipped cream and cherries on top.
Oh, Brad's dessert.
No, it's a Brad split.
Oh, fair enough.
Brad's been deserted, I know that much.
It's basically a banana split that he makes.
Which is with one of his tears on it.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, the first Raw exclusive pay-per-view since the Brand split. Clash of Champions. I watched it. I stayed up to watch it for my sins on Sunday night, and I've already forgotten pretty much everything about it, other than Roman Reigns became US champion.
Yes.
Fair enough. I think he's much better loitering around in the mid-card, not being pushed down our throats as a main eventer, than he is, being shoved down our throats as the main champion.
I disagree.
Well, I would expect that from
Roman Reigns should be in the main event. He should be the champion.
He was.
Much as I like
Everyone hated
much
it.
as I like Kevin Owens, and I'm entertained by his little asides that he does, his little comments that he makes during the match to wind up the crowd and wind up his opponent. He's not a champion. He's not championship material.
He's the longest reigning Fruit Winders champion.
It should be
How
a straight
dare
swap.
you?
Roman Reigns is always consistent. He looks the part. He has really good matches, and also he understands drama. He understands how to put together a dramatic main event match. I honestly believe that they've made a mistake here by swapping the roles of Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. I'd stick them back to where they were, really.
For the first big proper title match, kind of title match that came on, it's really felt like they went, right, we're going to put all the shenanigans into one show and see what happens.
Okay.
I
Did you not think that?
I didn't. I thought it was a very good wrestling show. I think there was a lot of good wrestling and a lot of wrestlers working hard. Some working too hard in the case of Cesaro.
He almost killed himself.
Nearly killed himself on a dive that went slightly wrong. He landed rather awkwardly on the
Yes.
outside of the ring. That looked very nasty, but it was a great match. That was my favourite match on the show.
For a match that I wasn't really looking forward to and didn't really care about,
No,
it was
brilliant.
a good match.
Brilliant. They've managed in a week to turn what was quite an interminable scenario into one of the best things on the show, really.
But you don't care about the outcome. You don't care that still hasn't had an outcome. It still hasn't had a proper result. But you don't care.
Well, not really, but at least it's entertaining now, and it's going somewhere. They're now going to form this odd couple tag team.
Why did you do Men Behaving Badly theme tune?
It's what?
Is that what it was?
I thought it was
No,
a Men Behaving
no.
Badly
Was
theme
there, I
tune.
was going to say,
wasn't.
was there any need for that at all?
Every need, yes.
What was it?
It was the theme from the classic sitcom The Odd Couple.
Oh, from the 1970s.
Yeah, there you go.
I
Too
can't-
young for that,
Can't
gents.
believe you
So am
remember
I.
that.
I don't. But yet, the reference is still there. How?
Wow.
Who knows? I'm that damn good. That's how.
Who was in The Odd Couple?
I don't know.
I
You'll
know
remember it.
I know the film was Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon.
Jack Lemmon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was on the TV show?
I don't know. I just know that.
Let's
was the
get
film.
people. We need some help from the outside world.
We do. And even if you guys have any thoughts about
Was it
this
Oscar
week's-
and Felix? They were the characters, weren't they? I think. And I want to know who the actors were who played them.
And if you have any feelings about this week's wrestling, get in touch with us. 07399.
No. We're talking about 70 sitcoms now.
07399 085508, or you can email studio@beyondradio.co.uk.
Love
Get in
Thy
touch with
Neighbour.
us.
Oh, no, we're not talking about that one.
No, definitely not.
Okay.
Although there was the rehash at the moment with Simon Day, which I didn't watch, which is supposed to be quite good. Simon Day's Alf Garnett. Did you not hear about that?
I have heard about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
the BBC have been redoing old sitcoms really badly.
Yeah.
But was that one quite good?
Apparently it was quite good. It was one of the better ones.
Right. Because I saw the Are You Being Served, and that was...
I couldn't
Anyway,
watch it.
why are we're completely digressing here. We were in the middle of...
That's
what
how
were we
good.
talking about?
That's how good wrestling was this week.
So yeah.
On more interesting subjects.
Let's talk about bad old sitcoms.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was a good wrestling show, But, wrestling alone will not make a show entertaining, and that's not what...
And especially not a pay-per-view.
No, you need a little bit extra. You need something a bit different. You need something that's going to get people excited and get people talking. I don't think there was very much of that at Clash of Champions, to be honest.
I mean,
No.
to compare it with Backlash a few weeks ago,
I loved
or like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was a good show.
It
I
was.
loved-
very
I genuinely
newsworthy.
love Backlash.
I had zero expectation of Backlash before watching it, and it succeeded those it exceeded those expectations. Even I had even less expectations from Clash of Champions, and I still came away feeling a little bit disappointed. If that's
So,
even
so
possible.
would you say that at the moment, SmackDown is beating Raw in the brand split?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, because I actually care more about the weekly shows as well.
I must admit, ratings-wise, and I think Raw was at a bit of a disadvantage this week, seeing as though it was going up against the American presidential debate, which drew about something like 80 million viewers or something ridiculous like that.
Raw had more realistic storylines, though,
It certainly
True.
did.
Yeah.
It certainly
and
did.
more believable characters.
Possibly, but
Yeah.
maybe not as heated a feud. Who knows?
Politics.
But it was the
Ben
lowest. It was the lowest rated Raw ever, I believe. As a result of that.
Wow. Okay.
Whereas SmackDown actually has gained viewers. So yeah, I mean, they said at the start, Vince McMahon said, "I want to see competition," and he's seeing it. And SmackDown is definitely, on top at the moment, I would say.
I think it's because when the brand split, you had all what I think of as, in theory, bigger names in Raw, the people who were massively main eventers, and you got a lot of middle card people going to SmackDown. Again, this is just my opinion. This is the way I saw it. You had a lot of middle card people, in theory, going to SmackDown, but they're the matches that actually had drama and had something to them.
Like maybe those people feel like they have a little bit more to prove.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It seems like the two shows are clearly being run differently by different creative teams. Regardless of having your figureheads of like Mick Foley and Daniel Bryan, Stephanie McMahon and Shane McMahon, it does feel different.
Yeah.
It feels like there's a lot more natural sounding organic promos happening in SmackDown that feel less awkward and scripted. And Talking Smack as well, for example, the SmackDown post show, which I haven't really been watching, but it seems to be good. The Miz cut his incredible promo a few weeks ago on there, which everyone was talking about.
There's more, there's more emotion. There's more emotion on SmackDown.
And a lot of that stuff seems more unscripted.
Yeah, you're right. Because on Raw, the New Day stuff is just bad. It's just bad comedy.
Even I'm getting sick of the New
Big
Day.
Cass and Enzo stuff is just bad comedy. But then when the Miz gets the microphone and talks on SmackDown, you feel it. You feel every single word that he says. When Dolph Ziggler got the microphone this week and nearly cried in front of his mum and dad in Cleveland, Well,
that was
actually,
real emotion.
I was a little bit sickened, if I'm being honest. But a lot of people would have really felt for the guy. You felt something. So
I did. I am all of a sudden, after watching that one promo, I know they've had a couple of matches already, but now I actually care about this next match that they're going to have.
Yeah, but Dolph's not taking advice. The advice I gave him 2 weeks ago of how to turn his career around and start winning. He's done the complete opposite. I didn't say bring your mum and dad to the show, and nor did I say put your career on the line against a man that you've not beaten for years.
So after the conversation we had the other week, Greg, are you really the person to give out advice?
Absolutely. Yes, I still am. Yeah, because I manage the man who retired Styx. It's a fact. Styx has announced his retirement from Morecambe
This
Wrestling.
is similar.
Yeah, but he's not retired yet, has he?
No, and this
November
is
the 12th.
Plus, it's wrestling. Come on, it's wrestling.
This is similar to the
Styx is supposedly-
presidential
Hey, listen,
debate because there's one
listen.
person who
No.
just makes up his own facts.
No,
Yeah,
listen.
true.
You and the Alpha Omega Wrestling fans always herald Styx as a man of his word, as a man of integrity, as a man of honour. So now you're basically saying that he's going to go back on his word.
He's been the conscience of Morecambe Wrestling.
Well, you're saying he has no conscience. You're saying he's going to be like everybody else who retires. I mean, that's rubbish anyway. In Alpha Omega Wrestling, El Ligero lost a loser leaves Morecambe match well over a year ago. Has he
Yes,
come
he
back
did.
yet? Has he come back yet?
No, he hasn't.
No. Well, there you go. So,
would the
it's
fans
different in Morecambe.
and myself
People do
be...
what they say they're going to do. Got you there, didn't I?
Not quite. All I'm saying is, I didn't say that Styx lacks integrity at all.
That's what you meant.
All I'm saying is that in the world of professional wrestling, nobody ever really retires.
Well,
Historically.
No, that's true. That's historic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people like,
Thank you.
Roddy Piper's retired so many times and come back. Terry Funk. Even Ricky Steamboat.
I think Roddy Piper retired
Ricky
for good
Steamboat
recently,
came
actually.
back after, like, I don't know how many years out. Ricky Steamboat came back at WrestleMania about
Ric
5 or 6
Flair.
years ago. Ric Flair
Yeah.
retired at WrestleMania. Can't remember which one it was now. Was it which WrestleMania was it when he retired? Can't remember. 2008 anyway. It was WrestleMania in 2008. And then he came back on a show somewhere, I think it was in Australia, about 6 months later. So yeah, it does happen. You're right. But
Often.
in Morecambe, if Styx says he's finishing, then that is the case. That is the last chance we'll ever have to see him on November the 12th. Nathan Cruz basically beat him and beat him and beat him and beat him to the point that he actually decided that he doesn't want anymore. So in effect, I managed the man who retired Styx.
I would argue he was going already. He'd already decided, in my opinion.
Well, you don't know that, do you?
I wouldn't like to say. What I will concede is that, yes, since the era of Alpha Omega Wrestling, certainly, with the one example of that we have is El Ligero, and he hasn't returned. So
Yeah.
that much has been true.
The stipulation was honoured by El Ligero.
As a long time kind of, having had long time involvement with Morecambe Wrestling myself, originally stemming from being a fan back in 2004, I think we're talking about, so 12 years ago now. I have seen more than one, I think, person retire from wrestling and then return in Morecambe.
It's usually Johnny Fear, let's face it,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So, yeah.
Speaking of AOW, we just got a text message from Charles Nelson Riley.
The Chief of Staff of AOW.
Indeed, you do.
That's the one.
And Lou, you may need to. I say take a seat. You've already taken a seat.
Who?
Lou.
Lewis.
Yeah.
Evil Lewis.
Yeah. You need to take a seat for
Okay.
a moment.
I have a seat.
He's just said, I have to agree with Greg here.
Of course!
About what?
Reigns should,
Everything!
Reigns should be in the main event, and Owens should be mid card.
Yes!
Although Reigns' security guard gear is not what your main champ should look like. SmackDown is much better than Raw too.
I think he
Charles
looks
Nelson
like a
Riley.
superhero, me. It looks like an action. It looks like one of these sort of dark superhero characters that you might see on a film. You know, I like him. I think he's great.
I think he looks like a prison guard.
And can I just ask, why is Cesaro still taping his shoulder up?
Why is he taping both shoulders up now?
Isn't it like 5 months since he came back after shoulder surgery? And he doesn't even tape it up in a particularly safe and supportive way. It's like randomly taped up, like he's playing dot to dot on his shoulder.
I don't think tape's got anything to do with his injury. I think he just likes it.
You think it's like a fashion statement?
Yeah, it's
like the Usos' khaki pants this week on SmackDown.
Yeah, it's like Adamant's, bit of white across his eyes.
The Usos now have new moody entrance music.
They do.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in case there's any doubt that they're not to be liked now and
That's
we're not
good.
to cheer them,
That's good.
like we were going to do that anyway, like anyone was going to do that. They now have all new moody entrance music because they're so urban and moody, coming out with their hoodies and their khaki pants and their down tempo kind of, the sort of music that youths would listen to on a park whilst drinking cheap cider and smoking nefarious substances. That sort of music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to disagree with you.
So
Also,
that's a
a
thing.
couple of other things that have perturbed me this week while watching wrestling is what's happened to Cody Rhodes' surname.
It's trademarked to WWE. He's not allowed to use it.
What, Rhodes?
Yep, Rhodes.
You mean like his dad used for like 40 years on the American independent circuit and in the NWA?
Yeah, It's
But they share out of Compton.
clearly that's now owned by WWE, and he's not allowed to use it outside of the company.
Really?
Well, why else would they not call him Cody Rhodes? Why else would they just refer to him as Cody?
That's bizarre.
Well, of course it is. Why do you think Ryback recently legally had his name changed to Ryback so he can call himself Ryback on the independent circuit?
Yeah, but that's different.
Yes, because
the
he's a
WWE
moron.
came up with the name Ryback. The WWE did not come up with the name Rhodes.
No.
Dusty Rhodes was using that name back in the mid-70s.
Yeah.
His eldest son, Dustin Rhodes, was then using it in WCW in the early 90s. Way before Cody started wrestling as Cody Rhodes in WWE in the noughties.
Easy way round it. He called it, in the promo on TNA, he's talking about all the roads he has travelled and how all roads that you drive a car on leading to bountiful glory. So why not just call himself Cody Rhodes, like you drive a car on?
ROADS.
Or, if he wants to be urban and with the kids, ROADZ. Rhodes. Yeah, bruv. How about that?
I actually like that as a suggestion. Well, I like your first one. I'm not so sure about the
What do you mean, Cody Rhodes, bruv? Innit?
urban hip-hop rubbish.
I was going to
But
say, when did Jason Status come in?
Who?
Jason Status.
Who's he?
It's just a fella that comes in occasionally. It sounded perfectly like him.
Oh, that's spooky, that, isn't it?
It's a bit in it.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a new gimmick for him. Yeah, bruv.
so
Cody
you're
Rhodes.
telling me that if TNA used the name Rhodes, spelled RHODES, on television, then despite the fact that that name was synonymous with a man who died a year ago, who is beloved by the WWE, who they have named their upcoming NXT Tag Team Tournament after, who they actually went to the trouble of creating a life-size statue trophy of to present to the winner,
Yeah, that guy, yeah.
they would sue TNA if they used his name.
I can only assume that TNA fear that very outcome that you just described, yes. Otherwise, why not refer to him as Cody Rhodes?
Wow. What kind of a society do we live in, Lewis?
A litigious one. That's the word, isn't it?
You're actually coming up with some good stuff to this evening. I don't know what on earth.
Damn right I am. But, okay, speaking of TNA, and I wasn't even going to mention this, TNA, apparently, having some problems currently. Have you heard about this, Greg?
I have.
I'm sure you have, because obviously you know everything about wrestling.
I do.
Yeah. So, Mark, probably, I don't know if you're aware of this. Allegedly, TNA, their biggest pay-per-view of the year, according to them, Bound for Glory, is due this Sunday. Allegedly, they do not have the money to fund said pay-per-view or next week's bout of TV tapings that they're due to record.
Should we have a whip round?
Sorry?
Hasn't this happened before, though?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think we should have a whip round.
And so currently there's a hell of a lot of uncertainty over TNA. A whip round...
Yeah.
I mean...
Should we ask the listeners for donations?
I'm pretty sure that the figure I saw that they need to produce Bound for Glory and the upcoming TV tapings is in the hundreds of thousands. It might have been 300,000, might have been 600,000. I don't know. It's quite a lot of money.
Yeah, but we can make a start, can't we? And you could do amazing things with crowdfunding these days.
I haven't even got a couple of quid on me.
I'll start the ball rolling. Have we got Mark? Have you got a tin?
I haven't. I can get a bag or something. See how much I've got. I've got 27 pence.
Okay.
What about?
Let's have a look. Hang on a sec.
Oh, it's got a wallet. It's got folding money.
I've lost my wallet.
Yeah,
my wallet better be in your car, Mark.
I could
Is this
probably.
your wallet?
Yay.
Oh, there we go. I thought it was Colin's.
Oh,
I could probably spare
Flip
spare
for that.
about 7 pence, maybe.
do you reckon they take contactless?
Maybe.
You know, that's worth up to 30 quid.
I've got
I'm
a
not
bit-
giving him 30 quid.
I've got a Beyond
Maybe
Radio
3 quid.
business, a Beyond Radio business card here. That might be worth something.
Priceless.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's priceless. There's me old. Oh, hang on, that's me old Booths card as well.
Booths.
See, that's probably worth quite a lot because Booths is quite a posh shop, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't give a baby boobs.
I've got
Self-amusing humour.
I've got a free drink card at the Golden Ball at Snatcham's. That's probably worth it.
How much is the rest about? What, about £3.50, something like
Yeah,
that?
I think we could maybe do this and then have a yard sale and we'll be all right, won't we?
Be all right, yeah.
So yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Send all checks payable to Billy Corgan, Nashville, Tennessee.
The Smashing
Surely
Pumpkins.
he's got enough money to buy TNA.
I would've
He's
thought
in the
so,
Smashing
yeah.
Pumpkins, yeah.
Yeah, the guy from the Smashing Pumpkins is trying
Yeah.
to buy TNA.
Here's the thing. There's a lot of apparently kind of dispute over an agreement and an agreement of sale. Dixie Carter is in the process of, well, she pretty much has to sell the company at this point. She doesn't want to. But coming up with a deal that will suit everybody is proving the difficult bit. But yeah, basically, as it stands, they've got no show this weekend.
Having said that, every cloud has a silver lining, and if TNA was to fold, then it would mean that the Hardy Boys and my old mate Rockstar Spud could go to WWE and just basically save Raw and SmackDown, couldn't they? So that would be all right, wouldn't it? And Maria Kanellis.
Don't we think
she's good as well.
Don't we think that Broken Matt Hardy would be horrendously mishandled by WWE Creative?
Oh, you're such a smart Mark.
It's true, actually, yeah.
Oh, he's Mark.
Hello.
I'm Lewis.
I'm not massively smart. I try, though. I'm trying.
No, that's why I didn't say you're a smart Mark. I just said he's Mark.
I'm trying my best.
That's the kind of thing that people say on podcasts, like, on wrestling podcasts.
Yeah, this is.
Ooh, do you think it'll be mishandled by creative? Look at me, aren't I cool using insider terms?
All right.
Let's get.
God. I mean,
back
speaking of podcasts, we got a podcast.
Yeah, we have.
Listen to it.
This program.
Well,
is
you're probably
scheduled for
listening to it
1-4,
right now,
yeah,
unless you're listening on air.
on the
Nah.
TPISFOF network.
You're going to start talking about juicing in a minute, aren't you? Just look cool.
No,
He got a little
no.
colour.
Look at me. Do I look like a guy who does juice? Come on, I'm in
A
either
type
of the
of
terms.
juice?
No, neither of those types of juice.
No, gin and juice.
You're like one of those.
Eh.
You're like one of those fans on NXT at Full Sail who just sits in the audience and just goes, "This is awesome, fight forever. Both these guys, you still got it. This is awesome. We are awesome. You still suck. This is wrestling. Of course, it's blooming wrestling. Goodness gracious me."
So you've got a problem with wrestling fans now, Greg?
Well, those fools who sit in the front row at Full Sail and just like chant the same thing over and over again. Yes, I do.
But they've paid for their ticket. Don't they have a right to make as little or as much noise?
No, they
as
have the
want?
right to be creative with their chanting.
Oh, is that on the back
No.
of the ticket? Is it?
You know, if I
Is
sat
that part
here,
of the terms and
right,
conditions when you
if
pay
I
for your?
sat here all night and spoke like this, everything I said sounded like this, it would start getting very boring, wouldn't it?
I mean,
Should we leave that there?
we could give it a go.
Yeah.
This is TPISFOF.
Come on. At the end of the day, right, the fans are being passionate about the product that they're going to watch. They're helping create an atmosphere which comes across on TV. You know, the other fans, it becomes kind of infectious. I mean, yeah, I kind of agree that fans who are trying to make themselves the star of the show, that's annoying, and those guys should probably shut up and just enjoy the show and be wrestling fans. But it feels like what you're saying is that wrestling fans don't really have a right to enjoy wrestling. It feels like that's what you're saying, Greg.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Well, it feels like you are.
I'm just saying that they should be more creative
More creative.
and not be so annoying.
They need to get some writers in and come up with some more creative chants.
Yes,
Okay.
they should.
Right. It's coming up to halfway through the show already. So let's leave this here for a moment. We'll be back in a sec and we'll carry on with a letter and some fantasy wrestling results, which I've... unfortunately, you've already posted the things. You posted them up early for some reason. So let's talk shenanigans in a bit. Okay, so we did get a letter this week. Dear Mark, Greg, and Lolita, you cheeky minx. I missed the show last week, so I wasn't able to tune in. I'm just wondering, how did you do at the show on the weekend, Greg? Hope you won. I've been disappointed by wrestling this week. I was watching a documentary about WWF, and they didn't even get up to the Ultimate Warrior era. All they spoke about was pandas, and they didn't even fight that much. I think I've got an idea about how I'd become your mascot if you're still up for it, Greg. Every week, I interview someone and ask them what they think of wrestling. I've already started with an interview with my mum, if you'd like that. She doesn't say much in it. She more just looked at me like a 4-year-old looks at sprouts. Hope you're all well. Yours and still the hottest free agent in community radio, Keith Slater.
Keith Slater.
Keith Slater.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
You sure you don't mean Heath Slater?
I'll be honest with you, his handwriting wasn't great.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but it did say Keith Slater.
He's very persistent, isn't he?
He's massively persistent.
I've got to admit, I'm sick of this already. I'm sick of this guy.
He did call you cheeky minx, though.
I don't care.
Should we not invite him in?
Has he got a return address? Can we send him some anthrax or something?
No.
I
I think, listen, we should give enthusiastic people opportunities in the wrestling business. And
Unless
in the radio,
they're not creative.
Isn't that what Beyond Radio is all about?
It's
Beyond
true.
Radio is all about giving enthusiastic people the opportunity to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
But enthusiasm alone isn't enough without the appropriate levels of creativity, is it, Greg?
Yeah, true. That's the argument.
You would know. But I think we should invite Keith Slater into the studio. Why not?
Okay, so
why not give him a trial? Why don't we bring him in on a trial basis?
On what grounds? Then?
As our mascot. On the grounds that Beyond Radio is an inclusive radio station.
Okay.
And
Remember how well that turned out last time, Mark?
I know.
Yeah.
we should give people the opportunity. Maybe we could call it work experience. I don't know.
Did you ever meet a guy called Barry Plank, Greg?
I can't say I had the pleasure, no.
You're lucky.
Yeah,
You're lucky.
that is exactly the reason why myself and Lewis are a little bit tentative about asking Keith Slater.
Yeah,
in.
community radio should be inclusive up to a point.
Yeah.
But there still needs to be a certain amount of quality control. Not much, clearly, based on the output from myself and Silent Mark and obviously this show. But, there has to be at least a really low benchmark.
Could we not, check him out in advance? Look at his credentials.
Check him out.
So what do we think we should do then?
Check it out. Selector!
No.
So what do you think? What do you think we should do then? What's the idea?
I don't know. Maybe get him followed by a private investigator or something.
You're paying.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on a minute. I've just given all my last money to TNA.
Ah, I hate when that happens.
I know.
I hate when I give all my last money to TNA.
Me too.
Anyways, it's time for Fantasy Wrestling Report.
Yeah, it's time for fantasy wrestling. Let's do it. Right. Which one do you want me to play this week?
Play Fantasy Wrestling Edge. That's a great one, that.
Sorry, in a second. Didn't work. This is how good your stuff is.
Fantasy Wrestling Report. Fantasy Wrestling Report. Fantasy Wrestling Report. Fantasy Wrestling Report.
So what was that?
That was Edge, wasn't it?
Is it
Was
safe? Is it safe?
On this day, I see clearly everything has come to life or light or whatever he says.
It
But-
sounded like two flatulent ants.
No, it didn't. That was me and my eldest son singing in perfect harmony.
Oh, apologies for that.
Can I put my headphones back on now?
Yeah, you can now. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
How dare you? Right, I'll tell you what. You're going to get it now.
Go on then.
Fantasy Wrestling, play some background music. Thank you.
There you go.
Is that right? Very nice.
Yeah.
Ah, quality. Yeah. He's going to drink some beer tonight and he's going to wear his pants real tight. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
If you listen to the song, you'd know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on then.
The Earth is 70% water and 30% Kurt Hawkins. Face facts, Kurt. No one cares. Anyway, moving on with Fantasy Wrestling Report.
Can
Week
I already call
6.
shenanigans?
Well, no, you can't because I'll explain what's happened.
I've not
right?
seen the shenanigans. What's going on?
There's no shenanigans. Last week.
I foresaw some shenanigans, though. Come
Last
on.
week, in my absence, I left a post on the this program is scheduled for one fall Facebook page
An ambiguous
Yeah.
post.
With Mark read it out.
clear instructions for a transfer window. And that transfer window made it very clear that each team manager could make a change of one wrestler in their team.
What was right?
If
What
they
was
so
It
chose.
also listed a number of managers who needed to make a change to
Yeah.
their team.
the word needed was not there. The word could was.
No,
What if we didn't want to?
I do recall that. I think that Kota Ibushi on Laird Grayson's team needed to be swapped out because he's no longer a part of the roster.
That's correct. He
Um,
needed to. He needed
there
to
was
swap him
another
out,
one, I'm
and
sure.
Mark had to change because Mark now only has one NXT wrestler
go. There you
because Bailey was switched to Raw.
I remember
Mark
those.
did not make this change.
May I read what you said?
Whereas all of my wrestlers are still on the rosters that they were.
So you said
So I don't need to change anything. I'm happy with my team, which is why it stayed as it was.
okay. So
Excellent.
You
Go
put,
on, Mark.
You can change one member of your team if you so wish.
Yes.
And then the bit where I come, Silent Mark's one change must be from the NXT pool. What if I didn't want to change? There was nothing there saying I needed to do one change. It just says if you're going to do one change, your change must be from the NXT pool, replacing it Raw or SmackDown.
No, the statement that you can change one name if you so wish was a general statement, but then underneath it said Silent Mark must being the key word.
It said no. Yeah, Silent Mark's one change,
Must
the elected one change, must be.
must
yeah.
be.
So if I wanted
if
I wanted to do a change, it must be from that.
Has anyone got any popcorn?
No, because your team no longer stays within the rules. The rules are quite clear of fantasy wrestling in that you must have at least 2 members of Raw, 2 members of SmackDown, 2 members of NXT, 2 members of TNA, and 1 wild card.
Like my team.
Bayley was drafted from NXT to Raw. Bayley is on your team.
Yes.
That means you now only have 1 NXT wrestler. Your team does not remain within the rules of fantasy wrestling. I made that very clear. You must make that change by last Sunday at midnight. You did not do
say
so.
You
did not do so. Ryan Gordon did not do so with Kota Ibushi. Shaheen, who is leading fantasy wrestling, did not make the change that he was required to make.
Sucks to be those guys.
Because he also now has no wild card because Heath Slater was drafted to SmackDown. He was his wild card. He had to change him out. He didn't do that. The 3 of you are docked 5 points and are ineligible to receive any points this week.
Shenanigans. Shenanigans.
Further down on
See,
the rules
I'm all
of
right
the
with that
transfer
because
window,
at the end of the day, I didn't have none of those rules applied to me. I've still got 3 Raw, 3 SmackDown, 2 NXT, 2 TNA, 1 wild card. Didn't want to change. I toyed with the idea of changing it. I toyed with the idea of changing out Luke Harper, but he's coming back any week.
The problem is, Lewis, is that further down on the transfer window rules last week, it made it very clear that the value of some wrestlers had changed during the transfer window.
Which is
a number of wrestlers had actually increased in value. For example, Kevin Owens' value had increased from 12 million to 20 million.
Which made him an incredibly foresightful pick when I chose him he was cheap.
Heath Slater's value had also increased from, I think it was 7 million, maybe 5 million, up to 12 million.
So an incredibly foresightful choice for anyone who chose Heath Slater.
Very clear that people who were now no longer within the £150 million budget needed to make one change to ensure they remain within budget. Lewis, you did not do that.
You didn't make that clear at all.
It was very clear.
You did not make that clear at all.
Very clear.
Never made any of it clear.
Very
that is
clear
utter BS.
in the rules. In fact, unfortunately, because of Kevin Owens increasing, you are now on 158 million, which means you are £8 million over budget.
No.
Shaheen, actually, as well. Shaheen is now on I think I'm trying to find Shaheen's. It's somewhere around here. Oh, there it is. Yeah, Shaheen is now £1 million over budget because he has Kevin Owens in his team as well. No. And I do believe Ryan Gordon is £2 million over budget because he has somebody else in his team as well.
Right, this is what he was doing last week.
So is the aim of the game basically for him to get everyone who's playing fantasy wrestling to quit fantasy wrestling?
Yeah.
Because we don't care anymore.
No, what's happened is last week, obviously, doing a bit of a cry, didn't turn up. What he spent with his week
he's taking
off,
it out on us lot.
Yeah.
Devising ways to screw us all over.
Yeah.
These are the rules. I would like to congratulate Charles Nelson Riley. Yes. Believe it or not, Charles Nelson Riley from Team Total Divas. Charles Nelson Riley did contact me. He put a message on the Facebook group. He asked to change Charlotte for Rebecca Hardy. And thank you very much for doing so, Charles Nelson Riley. You are actually well in budget. Your team adheres to the rules perfectly. And therefore, you had a really good week. You gained 15 points. You move up to 4th place in the Fantasy Wrestling League. Alan Rideout as well. Thank you very much for messaging me just to clarify your situation with your team. You're actually taking it seriously. You're not being dismissive and complacent of the rules. And as a result, Alan gained 10 points this week. And he's now in 3rd place still. But he is gaining on the Shining Wizard, Shaheen, who still leads just about on 53, despite losing 6 points this week. Silent Mark's on 51, despite losing 5 points this week.
Still in second.
Alan is on 50, gaining. And that's what happens when you stick to the rules. There's one thing I cannot stand.
It's a load of crap.
It's a rule breaker, Mark. It's a rule breaker, Lewis. Star of the Week incidentally this week, impressed by Cesaro and Sheamus, so I've decided they can share the Star of the Week, so 5 points each. So well done to young Evan from the Underdog, still rock bottom, but at least you got 5 points for Sheamus being in your team. And the Dummy of the Week, well, it was really difficult from NXT, to be honest with you. I thought, should I give it to Liv Morgan for thinking she could beat Asuka? Yeah, that was a good one. No, I'm going to give it to William Regal, actually, because William, right, I mean, it was one thing for Samoa Joe to take out Shinsuke Nakamura. That was great. But then Samoa Joe is basically holding the show hostage. He says he's going to attack people on the roster until he gets his own way, gets a title match, gets the championship given to him. William Regal just letting him get away with murder. Why don't you just suspend him? Why don't you just fire him? You know, why are you letting him get away with murder, William? I'm sorry, much as I respect you, Mr. Regal, sir, you are the dummy of the week.
Not happy.
This is utter BS, the whole thing. Okay?
Now, I tell you what, I'm going to make a strong warning, right? A strong warning to all you Sam Allardyces out there.
Just wait a minute,
This includes you and includes you. I'm going to give you one last chance. You've got till midnight on Sunday to make the necessary change to your team to keep yourself in budget and keep within the rules of fantasy wrestling.
This is
That goes out to everybody else who is currently over budget or is breaking the rules on fantasy wrestling. Not listening to the show, not going on the Facebook page is not an excuse. You've got till Sunday at midnight to make the corrections, send me a polite message and tell me what you're going to do. And if you don't, I'm going to expel you from fantasy wrestling.
This is BS.
Yep.
We have multiple people agreeing.
Well, go on
BS.
strike then.
This is BS, okay?
Go on.
Watch your levels also. Expensive equipment could be damaged. Charles Nelson Riley says the value changing is, let's say it's man dangly parts.
Mm-hmm. It was in the rules last week. Check it out.
Laird Grayson also calls BS, says a football team doesn't have to pay more money when the value goes up.
You were told last week, Laird Grayson, you had to get rid of Kota Ibushi because he was no longer part of the game. You ignored me.
So, you know, by fair rules, again, anyone who's making a transfer now, fair enough, the new value should apply to them. Anyone who had the foresight to pick a wrestler whose star was on the rise shouldn't be penalised for that.
Very true.
And they wouldn't have been.
And they
wouldn't have been if they'd made the change last week.
No,
if they'd actually read it,
that's exactly what you're doing.
If they'd read the instructions, if they'd read it, you know, gone to school and learned how to read.
We all know how to read, Greg.
There wouldn't have been this issue, would there?
At the end of the day, firstly, the terms suggested that the transfer prices apply if you're making a transfer.
Yes.
That if you're making a transfer, bear in mind the values have changed and that you need to stay within budget.
Why
if you don't want to make
take
a transfer,
legal action if you don't agree.
No, do you know what? Right, you've got 6 people on the fantasy wrestling league who you're basically penalising because you wanted to spit your dummy out and make people's lives miserable because you didn't succeed to end the stick streak, right?
So
basically what's going to happen is you're going to have 6 people who can't be arsed anymore because you've made it too much like hard work. What you've done effectively, right, is the same thing that you did with Morecambe Wrestling back in the era of paid promotions, is you've taken something that was fun, that was enjoyable, that was a pleasing distraction for people, and you've turned it into a chore that people just can't be bothered with. That's what you've done. Which, oh, surprise, surprise, Greg Lambert ruins wrestling. Once again.
I'm sure that
well done.
I'm sure that
well done.
I'm sure that Alan Rideout won't agree. Alan Rideout, you know, was a good boy, and so was Charles Nelson Riley, I have to say. So I'm quite surprised that Charles Nelson Riley is sticking up for all the people who failed to read the small print.
Right. We'll come back with this. We'll come back in a second. We'll talk other things.
Here ends the Fantasy Wrestling Report.
We'll be back in a sec.
There will be no stopping. It's when you go harder than somebody. Cause they don't even stand a chance. Got the eye of the tiger and the heart of a champ.
Okay, so quarter of an hour of the show left, ladies and sirs. If you want to hear past shows, you can go to the TPISFOF network on YouTube. Search for us. We're there. You can hear all the past shows that we did, as well as the interview that Lambert did with the referendum the other week, which was good. Got a good reception.
Mr. Lambert, please, come on.
Nope.
Show some respect.
Nope.
I'm not a criminal.
Respect? You're joking?
Dude, leave it for now.
There's the man whose first name is Evil.
Yeah, that's right.
Just leave it for now.
So you're no role model, are you?
I never claimed to be a role model.
Gents, leave it for now. We're encouraging people to go to the network. We're going to be posting more stuff on there as well. More videos and stuff like that throughout the weeks. That's where you can catch up on a lot of stuff from us. A little bit of time left. We've got to talk about British wrestling for a bit.
Yeah.
Big matches this week.
Are you going to ruin that as well, Greg?
From the likes of Progress Wrestling did a big show.
They did.
Down in Brixton.
Yes. That was tremendous, actually. 2,400 people at the Brixton Academy in London. Big rock venue, huge venue down in London. Yeah. And Progress Wrestling ran their, is their biggest ever show.
Yep.
A new Progress Wrestling champion in the main event, Mark Haskins, who I know very well from back in the old days of the FWA, winning the championship in a three-way match against the champion Marty Skrull and Tommy End from Holland, who is actually going over to NXT. We're going to see him in NXT shortly, so look out for him, Tommy End. They may change his name. I'm not sure if WWE would have a wrestler with the surname End. I don't know. Maybe not.
I reckon they might change that.
Yes,
yeah, maybe.
Quite possibly.
Maybe.
Also, 2 out of 3 falls match between Zack Sabre Jr. and Tommaso Ciampa on that show. And we all know, anybody who's been watching the Cruiserweight Classic, watching NXT, knows what those two guys can do. And big return for Jimmy Havoc, who is a good friend of mine, a hardcore wrestler from down in the London area. And the man who I actually believe, when he was Progress champion, was the man who actually put Progress Wrestling on the map, because that title reign was absolutely amazing. And if you go on YouTube and check out some of the Jimmy Havoc videos from 2014, 2015, some real near-the-knuckle stuff, really edgy stuff he was doing. So, yeah, definitely check that out. Great to see Jimmy back, because he had a really bad knee injury, so it's always nice to see somebody come back from injury and do what they love. So that was good. And big weekend with PCW as well. I was ringside on Saturday for Noam Dar's last show in England before he goes off to the WWE, joins the Raw roster, becomes part of the Cruiserweight division. Noam's been a real servant of PCW right the way from the very early stages when PCW debuted 5 years ago in Preston. And he's done pretty much everything. He was actually the PCW champion. However, he ended up in an impromptu match on Saturday night. He actually lost the championship. Yestin Reese is the new champion. And I was very lucky to sit down and conduct an interview with Noam, which will soon appear on the PCW On Demand channel, which is probably the last interview he'll do in Britain before going over to America. So we wish him the best of luck. Also, the main event was crazy. A tables, ladders and chairs match between Team Single, who, you know, we talk about the stick streak here in Morecambe going on for nearly 9 years. Team Single's PCW Tag Team Championship reign, I guess, is second to that because it had gone on for 3.5 years. That they'd actually held the tag team championships for 3.5 years and beaten everyone from like all around the world. Tag team wrestling, you know, from the Dudley Boys to the Briscoe brothers, they'd beaten them or you know, survived against them in Preston. But they actually beat the Hooligans, the Night Boys.
Wow.
The brothers of Paige.
Indeed.
Zack Knight and Roy Knight from a great wrestling family in Norfolk. It was an unbelievable match. It was crazy. They were throwing chairs at each other. They were putting each other through tables. Drawing pins got involved. That was actually the finish. It was a superplex off the top rope by Zack Knight on T-Bone into the drawing pins, but T-Bone actually scissored him for a small package and got the pinfall to win the match after about 25 minutes of mayhem. But then out came two guys in balaclavas and scarves. Everybody thought it was Shah Samuels and his goons from the firm, but it was actually Joey Hayes and Martin Kirby cashing in their money in the bag, as they call it, because it's a plastic bag. They don't have a briefcase in PCW. I think Joey and Martin lost it. But yes, they have a carrier bag. They cashed it in, and they became the new PCW Tag Team Champions. It was a fantastic moment, brilliant atmosphere. And PCW's back on October the 28th with our annual Halloween show at Club Evoke in Preston.
Very, very nice.
What's your problem?
Did you just say someone scissored somebody? Scissor.
Scissored the legs for a small package. That doesn't
That's
sound...
how you scissor.
I love
the fact that it was
sexual.
for a small package, though.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's, you know, there's no other way to really work it with a small package.
It's very true.
Other than scissoring.
Very, very true.
What is your problem?
They don't have a briefcase. They have a plastic bag.
Joey and Martin lost it.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry. They obviously
That's what passes for entertainment, is it?
They had to go out and spend 5p from a supermarket.
That's what passes for quality entertainment, is it, Greg?
Yeah, a 20-minute TLC match full of twists and turns and drama and brutality certainly does, yeah.
And then someone brings on a bag and loses.
Well, it was a great moment.
Do you remember the song Bag Lady
Maybe you should actually...
What's it say on the bag?
Maybe instead of just sitting in judgment in your little ivory towers, maybe you should actually go and watch some other British wrestling shows around the country and broaden your horizons a little.
No, I'm all right, thanks.
Well, stop criticising then when you've got no grounds to.
I've got plenty of grounds to.
Go on then. What grounds have you got to criticise?
All the grounds.
You haven't got a clue.
I've got so many. I've got acres of grounds. You
Not
don't
a
even
clue.
know.
Not a clue.
What's it say on the plastic bag?
Probably the name of a supermarket. I don't know. I don't particularly want to, give one supermarket credit over another.
So they didn't even put just a bit of paper and sellotapes onto it. They just kept it as a plastic bag. They didn't brand it or anything.
They carried the plastic bag around with them. I guess I don't know whether there was an actual contract inside it or not. Possibly not. But these things sometimes happen in wrestling. I remember when we lost the FWA Championship belt, or rather, it was stolen from the Morecambe Dome. That was a terrible night. I was heartbroken. But
So what did you just get a normal belt and put some tinfoil on it?
No, we got some guy to make us another one, a replica.
I rest my case.
Which was really sharp around the edges of the actual plate on the front, and Robbie Brookside, who was the champion at the time, kept cutting himself on it every time he came to the ring. Little anecdote for you there.
That was a lovely story.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Even the championship belts can be dangerous in wrestling.
Especially when you hit people in the face with it.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So you think that we should get out there more and watch some...
You need to get out and watch some British wrestling. Why don't you go and see
Take
a
us there.
random... Why don't you pick at random? Why don't you get do blind... Well, actually, you don't need to, do you? Blindfold.
No, I don't.
And
Blind joke. Nice one.
sorry. Just pick a location at random to go to.
Well, I mean, PCW are currently offering free tickets to their next show.
Very
so,
true.
Maybe that's something we could go and check out and not even have to spend any money.
Get yourself there.
Yeah. Free tickets.
To be fair, though, I would like to go and watch a show from somewhere else. Be a
Would
laugh.
you?
It would be a laugh, wouldn't it?
Bit of a smack in the face if you paid for a ticket, though, isn't it?
No. You
To have someone sat next to you who hasn't paid to get in, just watching the show for free.
You do that in most places.
Mm.
9 times out of 10, you'll be sat next to someone who hasn't paid to get in anywhere. Whether that be a wrestling show or a music venue or something like that.
I don't care, Mark. I don't care enough.
All right.
Anyway,
what? What else?
there's got to be... Come on.
See, that's the thing.
Here's the thing. The problem
week in
is, this week in wrestling,
it's not been much.
it's been a little bit boring.
What we're hoping to see next week, then. Let's throw it forward.
I'm hoping that TNA managed to do a pay-per-view this week.
They managed to survive.
I'm hoping that, because of Matt Hardy, I want to see more Matt Hardy. Obviously, we've got TNA Impact coming up this week. That's already been recorded, so that's not in jeopardy. But beyond there, what the hell's going to happen?
Can I just give a little bit of
It's an
credit
uncertain time.
I want to give a little bit of credit to Abyss and Crazy Steve and Rosemary in this whole Decay versus the Hardys Great War, because I think they've been an underrated part of it. I think they're actually... I didn't particularly like it until they started matching up with the Hardys, but the Hardys appear to be the perfect adversaries to actually, bring out the real, craziness in Decay, and I've been quite impressed with their performance too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although I'm not quite sure when Matt Hardy started talking about the 7 deities this week.
It's 7 deities, what he uses to resurrect people and whatnot.
Why 7?
I don't know.
Why does he need 7?
Because 6 isn't enough, and 8's too many.
Okay.
Probably.
It's true.
Has
If you've got room for 7, you won't have room for 8.
Has he named these deities?
I don't know. Why don't you ask him?
Sandra, Jeff,
Go on.
Albert,
Keep going.
Jonathan,
Yeah, you need 3 more.
Barry,
Yeah. Go on, so close.
me,
Go on.
Steve,
Yeah. One more. You can do this. Come on, I believe in you.
Smelly Frank.
Yes, nailed it.
Thank you very much.
Boom.
Yeah.
I haven't mentioned, okay.
Give me strength.
I haven't mentioned. This is a quality broadcast. This is content right here. I haven't mentioned, okay, my personal most notable moment from this week in wrestling, which was when you've recovered.
Yeah, carry on.
That's okay.
No, carry on.
Clearly, you guys need a moment.
We're listening.
You guys need a moment.
We're
Clearly.
listening.
It's all right. I'll wait. So will the listeners.
Okay. Go on.
Okay.
Go on.
This week on Raw,
Yes.
there was a promo between
Yes.
the awful Sasha Banks
Yes.
and the equally awful Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Hyping up their next match, whatever it is. I don't really care, okay? I wasn't paying attention, but the thing that caught my eye, or rather my ears, was as I was not really paying attention, scrolling through Facebook whilst half watching it, Charlotte had a rather interesting put down where she referred to Sasha Banks, but she didn't say Banks. I I don't think I can really say
I
it
don't
on
think
air.
you can, Leif, by the sounds of it.
She replaced the B in Banks with a W.
Family entertainment, folks.
Now that sounds like a dodgy pornographic film you might appropriate from the interwebs. Not